We have the You Got It business plan open from the Chapter 7 Project Files folder, and I've also zoomed out so I can see the entire page. Now I know that makes it a little bit difficult to see the content, but for this particular lesson, we're more interested in the overall page. So if you need to and you're following along, you can go ahead and zoom out to this level too. When we first created this document, we manually created the cover page that we see here, with a title, a subtitle, and some contact information on the bottom right. This has really been the way that we've done this for virtually all of Word's history, by manually typing stuff in. But now, in 2010, we have a better way, and it utilizes a component of Word known as a quick part. We'll actually create quick parts when we do headers and footers, but for now we just need to know that quick parts are just kind of saved content that can be easily reused. We want to use some of the built-in quick parts now. In doing so, what we're trying to accomplish is quickly and elegantly adding a cover page to our business plan. The way that we do that is to simply use the Insert tab. So we'll go up to the Insert tab, and on the left-hand edge, actually it's probably the very first option you should see under the Pages group, we see an option for Cover Page. If we expand this down by clicking at the bottom of the button, we'll see a gallery. There are a variety of different types of styles, as well as cover pages that contain different types of content, so we'll want to select one that's appropriate for the type of document we're working with. For our business plan, I think we'll go ahead and choose the one called Contrast. All we need to do is simply give it a left click. Almost like magic, we can see that we now have a brand new cover page. It was inserted at the top of the document, and if we scroll down just a little bit, we can see that it always is an entire page. Anything else that was already in the document is simply moved to the next page via a page break. Now the question becomes, what are we seeing on this cover page and how do we customize it? Well, first of all, cover pages will take on the colors and fonts of our document theme. So presuming we've been building the document the way I recommend, by using themes, we should not have to worry much about the design itself. Much of the information on cover pages actually utilizes something called a field. We can use fields anywhere in a document actually, and it's very common in complex documents. Fields can either be populated with data from the computer itself, like the current date or time, or by information that we add, like document properties. Sometimes we can also manually type into fields. This data is sometimes also called metadata when it comes from properties or from the computer. I recommend that we always use metadata first. Then, if we need to, we'll manually fill in some of the fields. Now, why do we go through all of that? Well, because if we enter properties like the document title, we can use them not only on the cover page, but again when we do things like headers and footers. If we don't, we'll have to type everything in all over again, and sometimes repeatedly, and that's just not efficient. It will also lead to inconsistencies if we have to type it manually. In addition, if we need to change anything, when we use properties, we can simply change the property once, and everything that utilizes the property will automatically update as well. Now, if you're thinking it sounds a lot like our reasons for using styles, you are absolutely right, because it is. The reasons are very similar. So let's go ahead and work with some properties, and then we'll get back to the cover page itself. We access the properties by going up to the File tab and making sure that we're looking at the document info. People often lose track of properties because they're all the way over here on the right-hand side. For example, I can see a field where I can click and I can add a title. This might be something like You Got It Business Plan or just Business Plan. There are a variety of other fields and properties that we can set up here. We can add tags and make it more searchable. We can add comments. We're not going to go into looking at all of those, but I want you to know that not everything is listed on this initial panel. It might be a better idea, if you're looking for some advanced things, to go up to the top left where we see a Properties drop-down. Here we can show the document panel, and this is more like the one that we saw in Office 2007, where it gives us basic information like author, title, subject, and keywords. Or for our purposes dealing with a cover page, we probably want to go into Advanced Properties. This is the dialog that we used to see when we went to the File menu and chose properties in the older versions of Office. Again, there's a lot of interesting information here. A lot of it is summary information. We can even see statistics. We can see the title that we just typed is shown here as well. We can also see the author, the manager, and one thing that's probably important for our cover page is going to be to enter the company name. So we'll go ahead and type You Got It Training here. Again, we won't go in and fill in everything, but remember that the Summary tab has some information, and so does the Custom tab. Again, there's a lot of things here that can be useful just for tracking your document. Things like who last checked it, who the client is, or the date it was completed, or the department. But as we scroll down, we can probably see other pieces of information that might be useful for a cover page. For example, I know that some of the cover pages also include a telephone number. We've added enough information, though, to get us started, so we'll go ahead and say OK. That brings us back to our information panel, which we don't have to save. We can simply close it. We can do that a variety of ways. I'm just going to do that by clicking on the File tab once more. Now we can see that we've been able to customize some of the information on our cover page. At this point, though, we are going to go ahead and zoom in so you can see things a little bit better. We'll move to the bottom right of the screen and just give it a couple clicks so that we can make the text large enough that we can read it. Maybe something about like that. Here we can see that the title that we typed of business plan is there. So is the name, which I didn't change because the profile I'm currently using is called Total Office 2010. Obviously, we would want to put in somebody's name or the company name there as well. Now we can see that not everything here was included. This is some of the stuff that we may need to just go ahead and type in. You Got It training is included here. We could click and type the phone number, the fax number, and actually pick a date. We can go ahead and use the pick a date to see that this one actually does have some functionality. And if you scroll up just a little bit so we can see this better, date fields actually have a drop down, and here we can select a specific date that may be appropriate. So a variety of things can happen. Some will be populated, others we can populate by filling in properties, yet others we can use by picking things like a date selector, or we might have to manually type them in. Either way, though, we'll simply want to fill in the information so that we can then proceed with the rest of our document. Well, what I know is that when we print this document, we're actually going to print it double-sided and we're going to bind it. The cover page will then be the front cover of the document. We then want the next piece of information to fall on the front side of the next page. That means we really need a blank page in between. So what I want to show you is our ability to insert just that, a blank page. Let's go ahead and click at the beginning of our first page, and then click the blank page option from the Insert tab in the Pages group. I know that seems really easy, but basically all we did was insert a page break. So now we have our cover page, followed by a blank page, and then the rest of the document. If you notice that inserting a blank page has inserted too much information, it's probably because you didn't click really at the top of the page. Remember, we clicked where Strategy for Organizational Success was first started. That wasn't the top of the page. There were hard returns before that. So just once again, you have to realize that when you use hard returns in order to format your document initially, it can kind of cause some confusing things to happen. In this case, we would simply use our backspace key to clean up that extra space. But otherwise, we now have a cover page and a blank first page, and our document is looking a lot better and getting ready for publishing.